Raw and real, back with the spill. I want to talk to y'all today about all these bullshit new trends that I'm starting to see in the fight game that's really fucking up the fight game. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of shit that's going on in today's era we didn't have to worry about back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Now, truthfully speaking, yeah, today's time, these fighters are getting paid way more money than what they were getting paid back then. But yet and still, the bullshit that comes along with it is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't get the fights that we want to see due to the fact that this promoter don't like this promoter, or this promoter don't want to do business with this promoter, or this fighter running from this fighter, so he jumps up weight classes to fight other fighters instead of his mandatory. And we just can't get the fights we want to see for numerous of reasons. Or this person pricing themselves out, asking for too much. You know, it's a lot of things that's going on in the boxing world today that's actually is really killing the fucking sport. It's killing the sport. You know, um, but I'm agreed with fighters, becoming businessmen, taking their careers into their own hands. I agree with that. You out here risking your life to get this money. You should have a say on how you navigate through this shit. But in the same breath, we still want to see the fights that we want to see. You know what I'm saying? And by a lot of fighters becoming their own businessmen, we don't get the chance to see the fights that we want to see. Now, Floyd Mayweather introduced that to everybody. He bought himself out his contract, took his career into his own hands, and became the man that he is today. You know, got a good team around him. You know what I'm saying? The highest paid athlete in the world for like over a decade with no endorsements. You got to give it up for that motherfucker. I mean, you got to keep it real. He did this. And everybody wants to be that successful in the game, like Mayweather. Retired undefeated, broke all pay-per-view records. Everybody wants that. But everybody's not willing to do what he did to do it. Nowadays, these fighters is pricing themselves out and have nowhere near the accolades of putting the asses in seats that he did. So therefore, it automatically stops us from getting the fights that we want to see. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he has to. Everybody want what you got, but they don't want to do what you did to get it. Floyd fought more world champions than any other fighter. It wasn't about the purse split and all that other bullshit. It's like the shit that Terrence Crawford got going on. You don't put asses in seats, but you asking for all this money. But you don't put asses in seats. So where's the money gonna come from? Go figure. And while you wait to get to this point, in my opinion, while you wait to get to you got one belt to lose, but you got three to gain. So why would money be such a big factor if you got more to gain than you got to lose? If you're so confident in your abilities and everything, take the fight, win the belts, negotiate your next fight. Then you can get your asking price because you hold all the hardware. And this is what messes up the games. And I think this is one of the things that mess up the game. Is people trying to be their own boss and don't know the business side about boxing. Don't know the build up about boxing. They just know, I want this purse, this is what I want, and that's that. If you can't give it to me, no fight. And which is killing the sport. The other thing that's killing the sport is when people pay other fighters step aside money. I don't want to fight you yet, so I'm gonna cash you out real quick so I can build this fight over here. Then we fight later and we get everybody's trying to do the same shit. Meanwhile, the months on the calendar is ticking. Everything is ticking. Then one of the fighters lose. We don't get to see that super fight or that mega fight that we wanted to see. For instance, Joshua wouldn't come over here to fight Deontay Wilder, but he came across the pond to fight Andy Ruiz. And we all know how that turned out. So if you can come across to fight, to defend your title and trying to get some recognition from the U.S., why you couldn't do it with Deontay Wilder to gain you that other belt? But instead you fought Ruiz and lost all your belts. Because when Deontay was willing to go across the pond to fight you, you didn't want it. You, as a grown man out your own mouth, said you're not ready for Deontay Wilder. How the fuck is you a world champion telling another champion I'm not ready for you? But that's your man's. That's your man's. Then you wonder why he had a breakdown after the Usyk fight. The mentality. And see, that's the shit that kills the sport. Not fighting fighters when it's time to fight, in their prime, when they're ready, when the fans are clamoring for it. It's fucking up the sport. Then now both of y'all take L's. Neither one of y'all got no belts no more. Which I still would like to see the fight. But the fire gone. The sting gone. There's nothing on the table. Now it's just about who's going to win. Then whoever win the fight, they're going to say, well, if we would have fought back then when we were supposed to. Just like the Holyfield Tyson fight. They say if Tyson would have fought Holyfield before he went to jail, he would have killed him. But the years in prison and not training do take something away from you. Not saying it's an excuse, but it is what it is. These are the things that's destroying the fight game. And now, all of a sudden, everybody want to use the mental health card. Since Ryan Garcia brought that shit to the table, now it's another trend that's starting to persist. The mental state. Now, by being a former fighter, think about this for a second to you casual fans and you hardcore fans. Being a former fighter, your mental stage is already fucked up by being a fighter. Who in their right motherfucking mind will choose this as their 9 to 5? You already got to be kind of fucked up in the head. So y'all can kill that mental that mental health shit. Just because it's getting popular all over the world now, people are not paying attention. Don't put that in the game. Don't let that be another thing that we have to worry about for not getting fights made, or another duck reason or excuse not to fight reason. We have enough of those. We have enough of those in play without adding to the pot. But you mentally got to be fucked up to even choose this as a way of making a living. Let's keep it real. There's a million things you could be doing to make a 9 to 5, but we chose this. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to throw that mental health shit out the window. Now, the other thing that's funny to me is Mr. Canelo Alvarez is saying that he don't want to fight no more Mexicans. He don't want to fight no more Mexicans. Which is fucked up. Mexicans are some of the most loyalist, biggest fight fans in the world. But you don't want to fight no more Mexicans. So, Mr. Alvarez, what should you suggest you do with those titles and all those mandatories? And why would you come up with a decision that's okay? Let's put the shoe on the other foot. What if you ain't had the titles? You chasing the titles, beating everybody in front of you. A Mexican holds all the titles. You mean to tell me you ain't gonna fight for the belts? Something that you've been training your whole life to work toward and up to, just because they're Mexican? Got to make that shit make sense to me, bro. That's just another division and a new way to duck. You done already moved up weight classes because you ain't want to fight your mandatories at the lower weight classes. You didn't want the Andres, you didn't want the Benavidez's, you didn't want the Charlos. So you went north. So that can be your excuse if you do lose. Well, he dared to be great. That's what they like to use, right? He dared to be great. He just came up short. Stop, y'all, with the bullshit in the game. The state of boxing is suffering because of everybody want to be their own everything, and you really don't have the tools or the know-how or knowledge to do it. But in the meantime, the calendar clock is ticking. No major fights is happening. Only fights that are happening is those who's trying to make a name for themselves. But the ones that has a name is being so prima donna to the situation that everybody got an ego that needs to be stroked. Therefore, we don't get the fights that we want to see. Now we get more talking about the fights than the fighters are actually fighting each other, which is killing the sport. It's killing it, y'all. Why you think MMA on the rise? All them motherfuckers fight each other. And all of them got losses against each other because they fight each other. It's not blemishing their careers. Mayweather put it to the point to where if you got an O, you ain't shit. But that's not true. That's not true. Boxing has a storyline. And some of the best storylines came from losses. You know what I'm saying? Hagler and Hearns era. When Duran beat Sugar Ray Leonard. Those are storylines. And Sugar Ray Leonard came back and got his title back. Those are storylines. So losses, it helps you. Sometimes it helps your legacy, depending on how the fighter bounced back. You can learn more from a loss than you can to win, because it was some adversities and adjustments that if you win, there's no need to make any adjustments in your mind. So sometimes fighters feel like there's no area for me to grow because I never lost. So I'm going to keep doing what works until it don't work. Now I lost, I correct that, and now I'm going to be even tougher for the next opponent. You got to think, man. The state of boxing is fucked up, and all I want us to do is get boxing back on track. Keith Thurman did all his motherfucking ducking. Now he ain't got no more belts. Everybody he ducked, he calling out because they got the belts now. That's bitch made shit. Bitch shit. You should have fought him when you was on top. But again, try to be a businessman and do things his way on his terms. And then the injuries happen and all the other shit, and you got stripped. So this is a lesson to all y'all fighters. Give us the fights we want to see. Because you're going to always make the money you want to make if you give us the fights we want to see. Whether it's win, lose, or draw. Because depending on how the fight goes, we'll pay to see it again. If it was a good fight. Now, if it's a blowout, something like Haney and Kambosos, even though we have to see that bullshit again, it's nothing that I'm jumping up and down about, but I definitely will watch it. But the first fight was more exciting because it was more on the table. Because from looking at the first fight, Only way Kambosos can beat Devin if he knock him out. And I don't think that's going to happen. And we all know, and we all know that he ain't going to outbox Devin. But, again, this is boxing. Anything can happen. But again, the state of boxing has to be put back in place, back in check, so we can get the fights that we want to see. Now, I saw on someone's video, I forgot who it was, but I think they're gonna start making these fighters fight their mandatories, which was desperately needed. These fighters need to fight their mandatories and quit running from their mandatories or vacate the title. That shit should have been put in place years ago. And then we would get the fights that we want to see. You know what I'm saying? They have to do that. Because this picking and choose who you fight and all that shit is not fair to the fighters coming up. You know, it's not fair to the fighters coming up. Like I had one of my, a comment on my page was saying I'm strictly an Errol Spence fan because I don't want to see him fight Keith Thurman. I wanted to see that fight when Errol did exactly what Keith Thurman asked. Keith Thurman said, you get a belt, but you have nothing to offer me right now. But if you get a belt, then we can make the fight happen. Send the contract. Those Keith's favorite words. Send the contract. Errol got the IBF belt from Brook. Keith still ducked him. And I'm going to tell y'all why. Which your casuals might know, but your hardcores do. Errol Spence is tailor-made for Keith Thurman. Tailor-made. Keith Thurman then got hurt by a body shot by a lightweight in Barrios who moved up. He got hurt by a body shot with Pacquiao. He got hurt by a body shot with Collazo, Sean Porter. All these fighters. That's why he stayed away from Errol, a true body puncher. That's his specialty. But now, that Manny Pacquiao money done ran out or running out, and Errol the man with all 3 belts, and you only had 2, and he surpassed you. Now you want to fight him. Not because you think you can beat him, because you want that paycheck now. And I don't blame Errol. I wouldn't put no money in your motherfucking pockets either. But you supposed to jump in line in front of all these other hungry young lions, like I was explaining to dude in my comic session. You're going to jump past the Ennises, past the Ortizes, and past the Benz just because I'm Keith one-time Thurman. No, nigga, wait your chance in line or fight them niggas for that spot. You beat them young lions and get ranked back up there. You don't just get a title shot after title shot because of what you did in the past, bro. These niggas working their way up to make a name for themselves. Why should you just jump back in there? No. Beat them. Then you earn your title shot. And if I was Errol, I'd tell you to do the same shit. Go get a belt. Then come see me. Because you ain't got shit for me to offer right now. But you can't be mad at that. Nigga just played the game and just played it better than you. But back to what I was saying. The state of boxing is fucked up because of these reasons. We got to get that shit back like we had it. Back of niggas wanting legacy fights and not all about the bag. Niggas who's just trying to, you know what I'm saying, make a real name for themselves so when boxing is mentioned, they'll be like, oh, I remember that cat. I remember that dude. Because to be honest with you, you can make all the money in the world. Ain't nobody going to remember you for how much money you made in the game. They going to remember the fights that you had. And because that's what's going to stand out in their mind. Can the fans see your heart through all that shit? Can they see you go through adversity? Can they see you, you know what I'm saying, be stripped down in the ring and just fight on pure heart? That's what make fight fans. That's what make hardcore fight fans. They know a little bit about your backstory, and then they see it all displayed inside that ring. But if we keep chasing that dollar, we are fucking up the sport. We're turning boxing into WWE. It's more fake ass storylines and talking than the actual fights. It's like it's going in reverse. WWE is trying to take a page from boxing, and we taking a page from them for our sports entertainment. Because that's what it's becoming, entertainment. The barbaric realism of the boxing game is fading away due to people trying to make themselves stars and becoming businessmen. Not saying it's a bad thing again. It's just, it ain't what you do, it's how you do it. Because you got to please yourself, but you also got to please the fans too. And pleasing the fans is giving them the fights they want to see. Then they won't mind paying that $85, $95 because it's a fight they want to see. But for you to beat up some nigga that they don't know about just so you could lace your pockets, hey, you wonder why your star is dimming. But that's what it is, y'all. State of boxing has to change. Raw and real with the spill. Peace.